Folks, hello and welcome to Tavern Chat. I'm your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. As you can tell, let me adjust this for a second. There we go. I am still in the Poconos. Now, this wasn't the article that I was initially going to be talking about. This is from Stephen Chenault, Troll Lord Games. I was going to cover something about Netflix and Mad Genius Games, maybe later today, maybe early tomorrow before the live stream. We'll see. So, what did Steve Chenault have to say? It's a long one, folks, but it's interesting. It's all about Gary Gygax and a lot of his essentially missing works, works that were pulled from the market, works that are in work. So let's see what we can talk about here. It is our wonderful pleasure and honor to begin publishing the works of Gary Gygax once again, though this time around it will be without his steady hand and good guidance. We are confident that we can bring him and his works back to the table and community at large. Trollord Games is honored with this position and will hold the next few months up as a crowning jewel in our long publishing history. A kindly thank you to Luke Gygax and all the Gygax family, the court, and estate for entrusting Troll Lord Games with Gary's works once again. What does that mean? Well, there's been a court case going on in the local county that Lake Geneva resides in, and it's basically between the kids of Gary and Gary's widow, Gail. Uh, Gail had the revocable Gygax Trust, or the Gygax Revocable Trust, I forget how it's phrased, which is what controlled the IP, the physical collection, all of this. Um, she had that because nobody had filed a will. And then a few years ago, a will got found. This is right around when the Transformers producer Tom DeSanto was looking to license some of Gary's IP for a streaming service, an on demand series. And in his research, in his findings, he found that there was a will that hadn't been filed, and that will would put Gail's actual ability to make this license in doubt. Now, I would love to see Tom DeSanto come back into the picture and license some of this IP. That would be awesome. But in any case, there is a court-appointed trustee, lawyer, that that's now managing the estate, and that lawyer has debts the estate has incurred, debts to the lawyer for his services. So he is essentially opening the door and allowing stuff to be licensed, allowing stuff to be sold. So, interesting times if you are a gaming historian, a Gary Gygax fan, if you've heard about Gary but never got to see his works, very interesting time. Now, Steve goes into how they met Gary. In 1999, three youngest gents, Matt Golden, David Chenault, and myself, Stephen Chenault, met at Vino's, a pizza place in downtown Little Rock, Arkansas, to talk about starting a game company. Matt Golden and Steve had been bouncing the idea around for a while, were at least taking it a little more than lightly. Not long after, we debuted our first line of products at Gen Con, three adventures, a setting, and a large fold-out map. The convention was a blast, very different than our normal Dragon Con fair, which Mac and I have been attending for the better part of a decade. The number of games were stupefying and the raw excitement of unfilled potential a little off the chart. This was the year that D20 debuted, and the OGL was the talk of the town. Joining the mad cap crowds there, however, were quite a few veteran gamers, publishers, and designers, not the least of which was Gary Gygax. He spent most of his time in the inner city games booth selling his legendary adventures game. As soon as Mac learned of Gary's attendance, he rounded up our books and map and brought them to him and gifted them as a huge thank you for all the work Gary had started. I understand and now have no doubt that Gary was very gracious and talked to Mac for a few minutes. That Gen Con was a watershed moment for Troll Lord Games as James Mishler, yes, the James Mishler who uh, inadvertently had influence on Shadow Dark. He was Kelsey's DM for a long time, kind of brought her into gaming. That James Mishler, who was a licensee to produce Wilderlands, amazing Wilderlands work. My God, 15, 20 years ago. It's been a long time. James is just good people. James Mishler of ACD Distribution picked us up, and the consolidator, Wizards Attic, agreed to carry and push our products deeper into distribution. Not long after the show, we sat down to discuss what we should do next. The expansion of the After Winter Dark setting was a must, and an adventure or two were proposed. We were not in a position to do much as we all had other jobs. As this percolated, Max suggested I reach out to Gary and see if there might be a chance of getting him to write an adventure module for us. Using the pretext of the adventures Mac gave him, I sent him an email thanking him again and asking him if he had a chance to read the adventures. He wrote back, much to my surprise, fairly quickly, and we soon struck up a conversation. It was not long before we were talking business. How that unfolded is a story for another time. Suffice it to say, we soon struck up a deal, and he was sending us files for both the Canton Crew and the lost city of Gaxmore. These beginnings launched an 8-year journey of publishing, gaming, learning for myself, good food, good drink, and all around good times. Gary and I emailed almost daily as we managed the ever increasing amount of material he intended to bring to the gaming table. These included a small host of projects from the Hall of Many Pains to The Hermit, Legendary Adventures, Gore the Rogue, Castle Zaggy, and a small host of other titles. We worked together for the better part of 7 years. They were good years, both the ups and the downs, and Gary proved a pleasure to work with. He always hoped for more from Troller Games, but and there's a missing word here, I'm assuming it's our finances or situation, precluded that in the early days. But regardless, he stuck with us, and we him. All this ended quite suddenly when Gary took his final drink and crossed the bar in March of 2008. Some months later, the licenses for all his published work were pulled from Troll Lord Games. For the next 15 years, has it really been that long? Holy shit. The status of these works languished, becoming a gift ungiven to those of us who loved him and his works. There are and were many amongst us who long for the shadow draped corridors of Gary's ever active mind to play out on our tables. The years have passed like they do, and we all filled that time with life as we do. Troll Lord Games' own fantasy role-playing game, Castles and Crusades, designed in no small measure to give Gary a home for his famed castle project, as well as a giving tribute to Gary's gaming group, the Castles and Crusades Society, thrived, expanding so much that we are now headed into our 10th printing. Gary's children, Luke at the forefront, kept their father's name alive with Gary Con and other ventures, such as Gaxworks. Despite his absence, he remained with us all these years. His influence, his ideas, all hovered around the Troll Den. In fact, hardly a week has passed in the past 15 years that someone has not reached out to us and asked if it were possible that Gary's works might be coming out again. As is our long-standing policy, both personally and professionally, our door is always open and there is a seat at the table for anyone who wants to amble in and play a game. As for Gary's works, their fate was never in our hand, but that of the estate. Remember, the estate was controlled by Gail. Now it's controlled by a trustee. But we have never given up hope, not ever. After years of turmoil, the estate of Gary Gygax was taken over by a court-assigned estate manager. As part of the agreement to raise money to secure the debts of the estate, Troll Lord Games was granted the right and privilege to reprint several of Gary's works, to wit the Gygaxian Fantasy World Series, Castle Zagig, Yugsburg, and The Hermit are each coming back into print. We hope to bring each of these to your table as soon as possible. Our current plan is to release a Castle Zagig Yugsburg retroprint immediately. This is a reprint of the book as it was released in 2005. Following this, we will release The Hermit as a Kickstarter campaign. The Hermit will be updated for Castles and Crusades, the fantasy role-playing game, laid out in full color with new maps and illustration, and will contain notes on its development and all original material as well. The Gygaxian Fantasy World Series will be launched on Kickstarter in the first quarter of 2024. The 8+ volume series of works is one of Gary's prides. I think I have two of the titles. I certainly don't have a complete collection. As well as a treasure trove of information for anyone wanting to create a comprehensive fantasy world setting. As of this writing, Castle Zagig Yigsburg is on pre-order and is selling far beyond expectations. We supplied the court with several projections. You helped us blow through our 90-day projection the first day of pre-order sales, and our 120-day projection by the closure of the third day, and it continues to sell. We have made the first payment to the estate a good faith payment, and will make another after end of this quarter. That means that the estate is already able to pay back some of the accumulated fees and penalties. Though we have a way to go, every adventure begins with the first step, and with you at his back, Gary cannot help but win in the end. It is strange. On the one hand, it seems as if time has stood still and we were only waiting for the word from Gary to get started again. On the other, it seems like a river of time has passed between those days and now. But regardless of where we are in the flat circle, we are here now and hope this is just the beginning of the new age. Stephen Chenault. So, folks, there you go. That's the update from Troll Lord Games. That's the current status of Gary's works. Now, my understanding is that there are Castle Zagig works, mostly completed, semi-completed, that were somewhere in the process when the initial plug got pulled. And the game plan is, after the reprints are out and money is raised and all that stuff, that they will work on unfinished titles. Finish those titles and get them out. I know of no time frame. This is just what I've heard in the industry. I haven't spoken to Steve, and I don't think Steve has an idea where that would fall just yet. Anyway, but it's an exciting time. If you're a fan of these works, and I'm one of the, I have Yugsburg, the original print, and I ordered another one because I like to keep my original for the shelf for display and get a reprint for play purposes. So, folks, there is a link on the bottom of the screen. Tenkar's there's tavern.games/cyber. That link will take you to Drive Through RPG. There is a setting sale going on this week. It is cyberpunk stuff. So you can get like Cyberpunk Red and other stuff at discounted prices. If you make a purchase through that link, you help support this channel. I know. Amazing, right? You get stuff, and by you getting stuff, we get a few coins. All right, folks, on that note, live stream should be tomorrow, unless there's a change. Between myself and Old Man Grognar, Glenn Hallstrom. Saturday night, should be back in New York. That should be another live stream, Gamers Health. Other than that, be safe, be well, God bless. Roll those dice, roll them well, and I will be back, like I said, tomorrow. God bless.